Let's be real. Steak is really expensive these days, and the last thing we want to do is make a bad steak. So today, I'm going to be testing the most popular methods of cooking steak to find out which one is the best. I'm looking for the method that guarantees an end-to-end medium rare, has the least amount of gray band, maximum juiciness, and is actually worth my time. So with that being said, let's get started. For our steak experiment today, we have 3 techniques that we're going to be applying on these New York strip steaks to have them duke it out to find out which is the best. We're going to be using these 1.5-inch cuts of New York strip, which meet the minimum thickness requirements for the reverse sear and traditional sear techniques. It's important to mention that you shouldn't be using these methods if your steak is less than an inch thick, as you'll likely overcook your steak in the oven. Anything less than an inch should probably just be cooked on a pan or a grill. Now for our contestants. The first and what has been a viral method of cooking steak is the reverse sear technique, which starts in the oven and involves raising the internal temperature of a steak just before its desired doneness before briefly searing the outside of the steak for a nice crust. If you've heard of this before, then you probably know that it takes a long time to reverse sear steak, but is it worth it for the perfect cook? The second technique that we're going to test is the traditional method, which is just the reverse sequence of the reverse sear technique. You know, I probably should have talked about this one first. Anyway, this method starts with a hot and fast sear on our steak and is then finished in the oven until we've reached our desired doneness. The third and last technique that we're going to be testing today is probably what we all default to when we're making steak at home. I'm going to call this the pan-only method, and it's simply starting and finishing our steaks on a pan, flipping the steak over and over again until we reach our desired doneness. This is going to act as a control in a way for our experiment today, but who knows? It might come out on top. So, what other factors are in play today that we need to control for fair and accurate results? Well, as fair and accurate as I can make in a home kitchen. The first thing you're probably thinking of is the doneness of the steaks. Our goal today is to achieve a medium rare at 130 degrees Fahrenheit or 54 degrees Celsius. This in itself is sort of part of the challenge, but it also gives us an idea of how difficult each method is, which will count towards the final results. We're also going to leave flavor out of today's test, so each steak is just going to get a generous amount of salt right before cooking and nothing else. And finally, each steak is going to be rested for 10 minutes before we cut into them, taste them, and rate them on the following criteria. 1. Do we have an end-to-end medium rare? And how much gray band do we have? 2. How difficult is the technique? And 3. How's the overall taste and texture? I know, that was way too much exposition, so let's finally get to testing and seeing which of the 3 cooking methods makes the best steak. We're going to be starting with the pan-only method since it's our control for today, and all of you know how this goes, so I won't go too in-depth on the process. We're going to liberally season our New York strip with kosher salt and then lay it into a preheated pan with a little oil, starting with that fat cap to render it down, starting our journey to crusty goodness. Once that fat cap is good to go, start searing any side of the steak for 2 minutes, flipping and searing the other side for another 2 minutes. Then once we have a good crust on both sides, we're going to flip the steak every 30 seconds or so until we reach our doneness. Our goal was to hit 130 degrees Fahrenheit, but as you can see, we overshot it a little bit. This sort of speaks to the difficulty of this method, but I'll get into that in just a second. Here's our first taste test. This is the control steak. As you probably just saw, I overshot it a little bit. It was almost 140, so I think we're looking at like a medium steak if we cut it right down the middle. Yeah, overshot it. Now, if I actually got a medium rare like I was looking for, I still don't think we would have end-to-end medium rare. But anyway, let's see how it tastes. I chewed for way too long there. You know, I will say that this is like the default, the standard, what everyone does when they make steak at home. Certainly, I think it's the fastest. Is it gonna get you an end-to-end medium rare? Even if I overcooked it, I don't think I would have achieved it. There's a pretty good amount of gray band. I mean, it would be probably just a little bit less if I actually cooked it to medium rare. Oh, and the last thing I'll say is, while this is by far the fastest method of cooking a steak, I think it's one of the more difficult ones because you're cooking the steak so fast and the internal temperature of the steak is rising so quickly. If you slack off for like a minute, you may be 5-10 degrees off, which is exactly what happened to me. With our control tasted and documented, it's time to test the traditional method of searing a steak. Just like the pan-only method, we start by generously salting our steak and preheating our pan. But this time, we're going to heat up the pan much hotter than before, because we're going to be searing our steaks for a shorter period of time before they go into the oven to finish. We need to build a crust quickly and prevent that overcooked steak just underneath that crust, or what the industry likes to call the gray band. Again, we start by searing the fat cap and getting it to a nice golden brown color. And just like before, our beef is going to sear for about 2 minutes on each side, just until we have a nice dark crust on both sides of the steak. And don't forget to sear the sides so we have a little crust on every bite. Now, once we're satisfied with the sear on our steaks, we're going to transfer it to a separate pan instead of using the pan we just cooked on to prevent the side of the steak touching the pan from overcooking. I'm doing a quick temperature check to see where I'm at and how much time I need in the oven. And then I'm popping this into a 350 degree Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius oven for about 8 minutes, or until that internal temperature is at about 120, and pray to the food gods that the carryover cooking gets us to 130. Oh yeah, let's go. I'm actually really excited about the traditional method because I think I got this one perfect, which sort of speaks for itself. This method is much easier to get the exact doneness that you're looking for because it's cooking much slower in the oven. You can take it out, check the temp anytime you want. I did it about 2 to 3 times, and it took about 8 minutes or so to get to 125, then it finished at like 130-ish. All right, let's cut into this. That looks really good. Honestly, I'm surprised. I don't usually cook my steaks this way just because it's way easier, less dishes if I just cook everything on one pan. But this looks fantastic. I mean, we really do almost have, and I'm being very critical here, we're not exactly at an end-to-end medium rare, just a very, very, very thin layer of gray band. I mean, this is, I would be super happy if I got this steak. Oh, wow. I'm super impressed by this. Tastes fantastic. Was it juicy? Absolutely. And it doesn't really take that much longer than cooking a steak entirely on the pan. I mean, cooking it on the pan probably takes like 10 minutes. This one probably took like 15, 20, depending on how quick you are. This might have to be my new go-to, but we are not done. We still have one more method to test. Hey, if you're enjoying this experiment so far, give this video a like to show your support and spread the word so others can find out about the best method of cooking steak. Stick around because we've got one more steak technique left and you're definitely going to want to see the results of this one. So, we've seen how much better a steak can be by finishing it in the oven. But what about reversing the entire process and cooking the steak low and slow? Is it going to be better than a traditional sear? Let's find out. Now, after we salt our steak, we're going to put it into an oven preheated to 250 degrees F or 120 degrees C and let that bake until the internal temperature of our steak is at about 110 degrees Fahrenheit. This takes about 20 minutes, and I know what you're thinking. That's way too long. I agree. I'm a very impatient person too, but this is all in the name of food science. What's even worse is that after we take our steak out of the oven, we need to let it rest for another 15 to 20 minutes before we can sear it. You have to let that exterior of the steak cool down before searing, otherwise you're going to overcook your steak and create a massive gray band. But after 20 minutes of resting, we can finally sear our steak on a pan that's absolutely ripping hot. I have my stove preheating on high and until that oil is starting to smoke. And yes, we do have to do it this way. Just like the traditional sear, we need to build a crust on our steak as fast as possible so we don't overshoot that doneness. One downside to the reverse sear technique, if you're doing it properly, is that you are going to smoke up your entire house searing steaks. Ideally, I sear my steaks for about 1 to 2 minutes on each side and definitely hitting that fat cap for an extra flavor boost. By the time I took this off the heat and let the carryover cooking take effect, we're at about 130, just a little bit under, but that's perfectly fine for how I like my steaks. By far the longest method of cooking a steak, but let's see if it's actually worth the time. Okay, so this is our final steak of the day, the reverse sear. I also got my stove as hot as I could, which I don't think was hot enough still, because you can see there's still some areas where we didn't get the perfect crust that we were looking for, mostly because we had to get a crust as quick as possible before we overcooked our steak. let's get into it. What we're all waiting for is, how does the inside look? Pretty good to me. I don't know why I said pretty good. That looks really good. Let me get a close-up for you guys. Right off the bat, I think it's comparable to the traditional sear steak that we made. If I can't tell if one is better than the other, I would say they're tied right now on how well of an end-to-end medium rare we have between the traditional sear and the reverse sear method. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that looks beautiful. Looks really good. I love steak. Here's what I'll say. The crust isn't as good. I would have needed to get my pan like way hotter, like hotter than I can get my stove to be, to get the crust that I would have wanted with the reverse sear technique. I will say, I think marginally, I think it's more tender. It might be in my head, but it tastes more tender. The traditional method and the reverse sear are, let's just say they're practically the same. The reverse sear technique takes more than twice as long than the traditional method, because it has to bake low and slow in the oven, and then it has to rest for a little bit before you can sear it. Otherwise, I've seen this in other videos, is you get this much larger gray band because you don't let this outside cool down and it overcooks quickly when you sear it hot and fast. So, very interesting. We got to get the other steaks and take a look. So we're pretty much neck and neck between the reverse sear and the traditional sear technique. We're going to bring back all three of our steaks and take one last look at each of them to decide which method of cooking steak is king. I think we can get one thing out of the way immediately, is that the control or the pan only method, you're not going to get an end-to-end medium rare. You're going to get some gray band no matter what. It comes down to these two. This is my own opinion. The look is pretty much the same. And the taste was the same, the texture is the same. Tiny, tiny margin. I think the reverse sear has a better end-to-end medium rare than the traditional one. But here's the kicker. This takes 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe. This one takes 45 minutes to an hour. Going forward, for me, I think I would go with the traditional method. Cooking at home, time is like the most important factor when it comes to making anything. If I can make something that's like pretty good in 30 minutes or something that's really good in 2 hours, I'd probably just do the 30-minute one, because who has that much time these days? I don't know, not me. All right, that was really fun and interesting for me. I hope you guys not only found it informative, but also entertaining as well. And if you got this far in the video, give this video a like and comment down below what your favorite method of cooking steak is. It doesn't even have to be one of the methods we tested today. Well, until my next video, I will see you guys next time.